Good morning, everyone. It's March or April 17th, 2018. I'm Eric. How's everyone doing today? Hope you're all well. Thank you to the person who left me a surprise on my PayPal. Really appreciate that. I was having a really terrible last, 2 weeks, and kind of brightened things up for me. I cannot tell you enough how grateful I am for that. It's been rough. So, the sacker warns, alas, this is far from over. I chose this because of the bullet points here. So, and of course, by the time you get this video, it's not going to have, you're not going to see the bullet points, but let's begin by a short summary of events. And a lot has happened just in the last week. About a month ago, Nikki Haley announces that UNSC that the U.S. is ready to violate the rules of this very self-same UNSC should a chemical attack happen in Syria. That sentence is really written terribly, wasn't it? So Nikki Haley announces that to the UNSC that the U.S. is ready to violate the rules of this very self-same UNSC should a chemical attack happen in Syria. Got it. Then the Russians announced that they have evidence that a chemical false flag is being prepared in Syria. And what happened? Seems to me that Russia's, and believe me, I'm no fan of any government whatsoever, but it seems to me that the Russians' information has been a lot more reliable than that of our own government. What do you think? Then a chemical attack supposedly takes place in a location surrounded and basically controlled by government forces. The OPWC sends investigators in, or sends investigators in spite of Western powers loudly proclaiming that no investigation was needed. Oh no. No investigations needed. Just believe what we tell you, and everything is dandy. So the Anglo-Zionists then bombed Syria. Next, the UNSC refuses to condemn the violation of its own rules and decisions. Finally, the U.S. Americans speak of a perfect strike. Right. Now, tell me, do you get a sense that this is over? It's not over. And it won't be over until Assad is gone, Iran is overthrown. I think those are the last two countries left on that list Wesley Clark referred to. I think those are the only two left. So let's look at the differently let's look at the second. Let's look at the differently for a second and ask this. He must not be English, or he must not speak English very well, this author, because he's got some really awkward sentences. What has the Anglo-Zionist attack actually demonstrated? The Western general public is so terminally zombified that false flag attacks can now be announced 4 weeks in advance. The Europeans now live in the motto, "My honor is called solidarity," a variation of the SS motto, "My honor is loyalty." Led by the U.S., Western countries have no objection to wars started in violation of their own national laws. The UN Security Council has no objections to war or wars started in violation of the UN Charter and international law. I mean, what good is the UN if it's not going to do its fucking job? The PRC leaders, in their infinite wisdom, act as if they have nothing personal at stake and act like bystanders. The Israelis, via the UN neocons, are now in total control of the empire and use it to clean house next door. Oh, I hear the objections. They go something like this. But the attack was a failure. So what? The empire did not pay any price for executing it. But the U.S. or Americans did blink. They attacked from Jordanian airspace and from the Red Sea. They avoided the Russians completely. They are afraid of them. So what? They still bombed a Russian ally with total impunity. But surely you are not suggesting that the Russians should have started a war against the U.S. over a strike which did not even kill a single person. No, of course not. But by not taking any action, the Russians also failed to deter any future attacks. But what could the Russians have done? Now, that is the right question. Let's look at it a little closer. Roughly speaking, the Russians have a choice of 3 types of retaliatory measures: political, economic, and military. However, each one of them has a specific set of prerequisites which are currently problematic, to say the least. Political assumes a minimal amount of decency, integrity, and respect for the rule of law by the rest of the planet. That's a prerequisite. Current reality. Run can moan, bitch, complain, protest, appeal to higher values, logic, to facts. Nobody gives a shit. That's the current reality. So there is no minimal amount of decency, integrity, or respect coming from the United States at all. Economic. Assumes that other countries, especially China, would be willing to and able to support such measures. Current reality. The Chinese and the rest of them are not willing to do anything at this time to support Russia. Military. Assumes that Russia has the military capability to defeat the Anglo-Zionist coalition. Current reality, Russia can military defeat the Anglo-Zionists, but only by risking the future of our planet. And perhaps that's exactly what's been holding Vladimir Putin back for such a long time. I mean, our country and our allies have been attacking Russia in different ways for a very long time. This reality can be summarized in a simple sentence. The Anglo-Zionist hegemony is a threat for the entire planet, but nobody besides Russia and Iran is willing to take it on. Ain't that irony? The so-called Christian West has become a willing parasite for his Zionist hosts, and the only ones with the courage and moral integrity to take it on are Orthodox Christians and Muslims. But what is even more important is this. While it is true that the U.S. neocons did not succeed in delivering the kind of massive attack they would have wanted to, and while it is true that the U.S. attack was just about as lame as can be, you need to completely forget about these facts. Simply don't matter. Facts simply don't matter. Neither does logic. All that matters is perceptions. And they manage your perception through mainstream media. I mean, you're president. I say you're president because I would have never voted for him. Don't get me wrong though, I would have never voted for any of them. Not a single fucking one. They're all criminals that should be neutered. So, facts don't matter, logic doesn't matter, all that matters is perception. And the perception is that we, the Zionists or Anglo-Zionist rulers and their serfs, kicked Assad's ass, and that we will do it again if we feel like it. That is all that matters in the empire of illusions which the Anglo-Zionist hegemony has become. We certainly are a country of illusions, aren't we? Race doesn't matter, IQ doesn't matter, you know, none of these things matter. You got Alex Jones freaking the fuck out, and trying to justify what Donald Trump has done and is doing by citing the supposedly good things that he has supposedly done. So far, my family got hurt just in our tax return from his election. So, okay. As soon as you understand that, you also have to agree that Trump was right. It was a perfect strike. Again, not in reality, but in the world of illusions created around it. So now we come full circle. The Anglo-Zionist hegemony demands that the entire planet bows down and worships it, except for Russia and Iran. Everybody meekly goes down on their knees, or at most meekly looks away. In their own delusional reality, the Mexicans feel empowered to smack down Russia or Iran at any time. Oh, I said Mexicans, Americans. Wow. It's still too early. I just woke up not too long ago, and the vision's still a little blurry. But this is the quietest part of the day, so kind of almost have to do it now. There's nothing Iran can do to stop them, and while Russia can, she can only do that at the risk of the future of our entire planet. Now, you tell me, do you really think this is over? It's not over, and eventually Russia is going to risk the entire planet because they will have no choice. I mean, one of these times, Vladimir Putin's going to get poked in his fucking eye, or kicked in his balls, or however you want to look at it, and that's going to be it. And I do believe that China would back Russia. I mean, they've been working together to undermine the U.S. currency. So why wouldn't they work together on, destroying America? Or our politicians, which, would not be a bad thing. The problem is what will replace these assholes? That's the big question. At some point in time, Russia will get sick of being slapped around, kicked in the balls, like I said, and they will begin to fight back. I mean, we have our military getting on TV bragging about how they killed a couple of hundred Russians last year. And of course, this is all done at the behest of Israel. I know. I'm a fucking anti-Semite because I don't support Israel or any Zionist fucking ideology. See, in my opinion, World War II was one giant false flag to make Jews look like victims so that they have a supposed legitimate reason to go to Israel and ethnically cleanse it, and continue to do so for the next, 80 years? Something like that. I mean, this was all planned out through the Rothschilds, them getting it. And it seems to me that they got that land back through ill-gotten methods. And it also seems to me that they're trying to get the events of the book of Revelation, or Revelations, rolling. I mean, that is one of the conditions for the New World Order. That is one of the conditions for, what do they call that? It's right on the tip of my tongue, too. Not the rapture, that's not even real. If you believe that you're going to get saved by God from the hell to be unleashed on this planet, or the hell that has been unleashed on this planet, I have some swampland with concentrated gas from Uranus on it for sale. So get with me on that. Anyway, so, and from what I understand, Adolf Hitler was at least part Jew. So, you know, could it be that World War II was that false flag to push the Jewish people back onto, or back into Israel, and to get the events of Book of Revelations moving along? It looks like that to me. I mean, doesn't it look like that to you? And then we have the letter from Albert Pike, and I've gone over this Albert Pike. I've gone over this Albert Pike letter a few times. And on my old channel, talking all about World War III and how the first two world wars were planned events. I'm going to pull that up right quick. Alright, here we are at Disclosure.tv. In 1870, Illuminati Grand Wizard Albert Pike predicted how the three world wars would start. I do find it to be very odd that a Muslim country and a Orthodox Christian country are teaming up against us and our allies. Very, very odd. Okay, so Albert Pike had a vision of 3 world wars in 1871. Albert Pike had a vision and then wrote a letter to Mazzini and posted it August 15, 1871 in the letter, he outlined in great detail the plans for 3 world wars, which he said would then bring about one world order that we know it as the New World Order or one world government. And this one world government shit stretches all the way back thousands of years to the Sumerians and the so-called Anunnaki. Today people have marveled at just how accurate his vision and predictions were, as 2 of the wars have already taken place, World Wars I and World War II, while World War III is yet to happen. And of course this is what we're talking about here, World War III. The highly mysterious letter of Albert Pike. The letter that Pike sent to Mazzini was said to have been put on display in London in the British Museum Library and copied by a former intelligence officer of the Royal Canadian Navy by the name of William Guy Carr. However, the British Library has confirmed that they never had the letter. And just because they said they never had it doesn't mean they didn't. Or don't. Carr also said that he learned about the letter from Pike from Cardinal Caro Y. Rodriguez of Santiago, and he was the author of The Mystery of Freemasonry Unveiled. There has not been any proof to this day that the letter had ever been written, but is often quoted and has been the topic of a great deal of discussion. Supposedly, extracts from the letter have been seen, and they seem to show how 3 world wars would take place, and that Pike knew about them a long time before they happened in a vision. First World War must be brought about in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the power of the czars in Russia and of making that country a fortress for atheistic communism. The divergence caused by the agents of the Illuminati between the British and Germanic empires will be used to foment this war. At the end of the war, communism will be built and used in order to destroy the other governments and in order to weaken their religions. Second World War. Second World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed and that the political Zionism be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel in Palestine. During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would be then restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm. The Third World War. The Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agiture of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam and political Zionists mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilist and the atheist, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm which, in all of its horror, will show clearly that the nations, the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. So, you see, when so-called conspiracy theorists make predictions like this, they have good reason to. I mean, it's all intentional. All of it. They intentionally poison you through the air, food, and water. Intentionally. The cops intentionally gun you down. They intentionally kill innocent men, women, and children. Then everywhere the citizens, obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries, will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitude disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its admiration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out to or in the public view. See, this is why I say they're following the book of Revelations like a playbook. The manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. And that's how they do things. 2 birds, 1 stone. See how long that is.
This video will cover Grand Wizard Albert Pike's 3 World War predictions, which are quite frankly stunning. But first, I want to give a background on the person who exposed the Illuminati's preparations for World War III and how they plan to use Islam to destroy the West. A secret diary was released by a man with information about elitist organizations and the New World Order. This diary documents that the Illuminati already knows what is going to happen for World War III. It's already mapped out. The agenda's already set. The diary that exposes this agenda belonged to a man named William Carr, who was born in 1895. Carr entered into Canada's Royal Navy at a very young age and ascended to the position of commander. He knew many at the top of their fields in politics and law and in academia. His side hobby was writing books, specifically books on the New World Order. His books documented the breadth in which the Illuminati had taken over all aspects of society, including churches and seminaries. In fact, Carr claimed to have received an SOS letter from a high-ranking official in the Roman Catholic Church in November 1958. The letter outlined a hostile takeover that was underway in the Vatican, the Illuminati having infiltrated the Vatican's quarters. Carr would die less than a year after receiving the SOS message. Carr also documented history behind the most elusive organization in world history, the Illuminati, and their religion, which is Luciferianism. He believed that modern organizations, including the Bilderberg Group and the Council on Foreign Relations, are Luciferian political organizations. He also believed that the chief governing body for Lucifer, for the ascension of the capstone, was the United Nations, and he documented this in his books. Carr wrote several books. His most controversial book was published after his death. It is called Satan, Prince of this World, and is really nothing more than Carr's personal diary and notes he saved for many years. In this book, Carr documents receiving the SOS letter from the high-ranking Vatican official, but he also documents other interesting things. For example, Carr believed that secret societies weren't working independently of one another, but that they were controlled by a top-level organization called the World Revolutionary Movement. And that's literally in his book, Satan, Prince of the World. This organization at the top tier is interested in inciting war, terrorism, and distress to serve its fundamental interests. And that is to establish the New World Order, a Luciferian system of governance and religion. Carr speaks at length about World War III in his book, Satan, Prince of the World. He documents that World War III was planned by a 33rd degree Grand Wizard named Albert Pike. Albert Pike was a notorious Luciferian who openly praised Lucifer in his book, Moral and Dogma of the Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. Pike was also a general for the Confederacy during the Civil War, and a wizard of occult magic, channeling and summoning of spirits. William Carr documented that Albert Pike wrote a letter to a friend in 1871, outlining the final and largest of the wars. According to Carr, what Albert Pike actually wrote was a lot more than a letter. It was a blueprint that spelled out exactly what would happen in the last war. Carr said, quote, "In the 1860s, Albert Pike is recorded as saying his military program might take 100 years or a little longer to reach the day when those who direct the conspiracy at the top will crown their leader king despot of the entire world and impose a Luciferian totalitarian dictatorship upon what is left of the human race." That's what they're saying. Pike seems to indicate a conspiracy to start a war so that the Antichrist can ascend to his position as world ruler. Pike's letter ironically also detailed the specifics of the first two wars with stunning accuracy, suggesting that he knew before time the details surrounding each of the wars. World War I, according to Pike, would be fought to overthrow the czars in Russia and change Russia.
Of course, this is information I just got through saying. So, they are following a blueprint. They have been taking steps since World War to assure a third world war. In recent time, they've, you know, kind of sped up their fucking dogs. So I kind of lost train of thought because I had to go shut a window and because some damn dogs barking. They're still fucking barking, driving me crazy. Of course, World War III has not yet arrived, but recent events and unrest suggest that perhaps it is not too far away. And, you know, on our side, we are when I say we, I'm not talking about the individual necessarily. I'm talking about us as a nation. We are not a nation of Christians, or not a Christian nation, rather. There are so-called Christians all over the place, but at some point in time, the politicians stop being Christian, and they are Luciferian now. They're worshippers of the morning light, or something like that. And they take it really, really seriously. I mean, they take it more seriously than the jihadis take Allah. So there's no reason to think that if his predictions concerning the first two world wars were pretty good, you would think that perhaps his predictions concerning the third would also be pretty good. But when? Right? When? Is it now? Is that what we're seeing unfold? Is Trump the perfect pawn to make this happen? So, I thought I'd share this with you because it's all kind of already planned out. It's all intentional, and they've been successful so far at achieving their world wars. There's no reason to think that they won't be successful at starting the third. Now, it is my humble opinion, and it is humble, that we've been intentionally trying to start World War III for a while now, at least since the 80s, at least. So, and when you say you're not a Zionist, you're not for Zionism, we automatically get accused of anti-Semitism, whatever the fuck that means. Somehow you're a racist because you think what has been done to the people of the world by a very, very small group of individuals, fairly small comparing to the other populations of the world, have been victim, the nations of the world, everywhere these people go, they become victimized by them, manipulated, taken over, and their interests serve disproportionately to the numbers they hold within any given nation. Israel is the key to this, and whatever happens, you can be sure Israel is involved, is pushing it. You can be sure that Israel is doing what is necessary to secure more land and resources for the Jewish community there in Israel. So, and they're going to start World War III doing it. And anyone who survives that shit, well, you have a brutal existence waiting for you at the end. So don't be weak. Don't be weak and succumb to this exhaustion that Albert Pike talks about in his letter, or so-called letter, to Manzini, or Mazzini, my bad, because there's no because. There's no reason to think that his predictions are off concerning World War III, I guess, is the main deal here. So, anyway. Thought I'd share this with you all. It's gotten to be a rather long video. I cannot begin to tell you how important it is to understand that all of this is pre-scripted, talked about in the Christian Bible, among other religious books, and I really believe that they're intentionally trying to start all these things, or did in the case of World War I and II, to try to make all these things come about. So, anywho, I hope everyone has a good day. Remember, kill the state before it kills you.